Hello, mi gente, YouTube people of the world. This is Tito Lexus Latino coming from Atlanta, Georgia. Just a few hours ago, I had the great opportunity to watch the last installment of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, don't let that stumble give you the impression that I had regarding the film. I'm going to quickly talk about how I went into the movie, my mentality, what it was like during the movie, and then, of course, after I left the movie. There are so many people talking about it, already breaking it down. You can even find spoilers, but I'm going to spare you because I want to give you my impression. And the way I look at it is that I'm one of those people that grew up. I'm a kid, I'm an adult now, but I'm a kid who grew up with like a bucket full of Star Wars toys, from Leia, Chewbacca, Luke, Darth Vader. I mean, back when Darth Vader had a little cape, Luke would ride with C-3PO and R2-D2 on the land speeder that would just kind of whiff past the floor. And of course, my parents would always step on some of those Star Wars toys as if they were Legos and always tell me to put them back into the bucket. My brother and I would just collect Star Wars toys like nobody's business. In fact, the first record I remember listening to was actually the story of Star Wars, and it had an accompanying book that had some pictures so you could follow the story that you heard back on a vinyl record. If some of you actually remember what those vinyl records are like. So we're talking, watching it when I was a kid. My dad would tell us, he literally took us to the theaters and we immediately went to bed. But the last thing, of course, as little kids, after watching something like that, you did was go to bed right away. But it filled my mind in so many ways growing up. So you can imagine not only just the first movie, Star Wars: A New Hope. Of course, I kept thinking, number 4? What happened to the others? Did we miss them? Of course, we caught up, and you know the rest of the story. But let me talk about and concentrate on The Rise of Skywalker. My decision, although I'd been bombarded on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube with both incredibly beautiful anticipation, and this is like going to be the second coming. I can't wait. It's going to be orgasmic. I can't wait to go to the theater and see all my favorite characters and come out with a big smile, shuddering in the freezing cold of December after watching it. I digress. It's one of those movies. It'll still leave an impression. If you're going there basically enjoying a flick, if you're going in there like I decided to do at the last minute, with a clean slate, after hearing some of the leaks, after watching some of the negative reviews that might have come out based off those leaks, I said, you know what? I'm going to try and cleanse my mind. I'm going to try and reach out for that safe space in my head where the preconceived notions are not exactly there, and just enjoy the movie as best I could. I did take some rough notes, I must admit, but they were basically keywords and maybe like sketches or little marks to kind of give me an opportunity to refresh my memory as I talk about it. So that's the beginning. I had an impression based off the first two, and of course with The Last Jedi, that maybe Rey was gonna be this goddess-like figure, sort of. So I had this impression of the Fifth Element, that she was gonna be like the matriarch, but not even the matriarch, but the god. Hey, Kevin Smith, but or the goddess, supreme being of all, so to speak, or maybe the chosen goddess of the Jedi, and ultimately be the matriarch of the family of Star Wars, so to speak. Now, I knew, because we're talking about George Lucas and he's good friends with Steven Spielberg, I was wondering if maybe the fact that they were going to different worlds and looking for tangible stuff, that maybe it was going to be Indiana Jones like. That's as I was watching the movie, it basically turned into sort of like this Fifth Element sort of Indiana Jones search for the Holy Grail kind of deal, and then eventually turning into Harry Potter. So, I mean, we make these impressions. There's certain movies that make an imprint in the way that we see other movies. And those are the three particular movies that I had going in there. That's the impression I got as I evolved through, as I walked through and journeyed through. My impressions, let me just say from a Star Wars perspective, I'm going to share that later because that's an entirely different conversation. But spoiler free as best as I can with just those three movies, you'll understand what I mean when you go through it and experience it yourself. I'll tell you quickly about the things that I absolutely loved. Of course, the score from John Williams, from even just the soft subtlety of Leia and Rey, the feminine, the flutes, the type of music that comes with it, to the battle scenes, and also, of course, I mean the horns and the strings and how it takes you to this almost like roller coaster ride experience. The only thing I'll say from a slightly negative perspective is sometimes the quickness, the change of view, the flashes almost became a little too distracting from the music. It's almost like instead of, say, a ship exploding and a small part of the screen, I guess you could say the lightning and sometimes the larger explosions actually took away from some of the music. I know I've been talking about the music, and then also the vision, the imagery, the special effects. You really felt, I think this could be worth 3D. I really do. There's so many times where you actually were drawn into the movies and the background, the foreground, just everything felt so real. And of course, visiting those different worlds, you almost had the impression that you could walk through it and enjoy it themselves. Now, not to be outdone, there's many little moments that are very Disney oriented. I guess you could say there's many things that parents will be mindful of as Christmas gifts that kids will be wanting to take home with them. So in that tradition of Star Wars, you definitely want to purchase a few very cute things. Maybe a new droid or a new character that is handheld and easy to take home. Going back to the vision, the colors, sometimes it got a little too reddish, and a few times it was kind of too bluish. But that's totally understandable because I guess you had the thunder, the lightning, the darkness. If anything, you're gonna go very dark blue, gray, and maybe some black. Man, you were propelled at the beginning, the middle, but the ending was a little bit better. But I think you'll be pleased considering the number 2 that was left for JJ to address. So those are my positive reviews. Spoiler free, of course. You definitely got some character development finally provided. You really got a sense you were getting to know everybody, from all the main characters, all the supporting characters. There's some new characters, which I guess there's maybe one or two that stand out for obvious reasons. But I think in terms of a story and what was left to be salvaged and put together, you'll be pleased. If I had to rate this movie, I guess I'll say 6 out of 10, only because of how incredibly distracting the story got and how, as it was kind of herky-jerky. Let's just say you'd be glad that you were strapped in at the beginning of this movie and then finally got a chance to enjoy disembarking at the end. Hopefully you enjoyed my spoiler-free review. I'll save my Star Wars experience for another video, but this is Tito Lexus Latino signing off from Atlanta, Georgia.